With 4 wins in 6 races, you'd expect Costa to be a runaway in the points. But missing the Nürburgring and tripping up at Le Mans has eaten up 2 of his valuable drop weeks. He can ill afford similar results, so Phillip Island will be where he has to rebound. Let's see if he can as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Bobbert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This Aussie circuit is one of a handful available in the iRacing service, but was also the first from the continent to appear. Let's head to our track guide to find out more. Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening Dewan. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old-school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earthen embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around. One thing I do like about this track, Joey, is the fact that it has just about every type of corner you could ask for.
I was just going to say, it's got a few different faces to it here at Phillip Island. 12 turns, 2.76 miles in length, 4.445 kilometers for you other folks. And it kicks things off with an extremely fast Duhan turn 1. And it's going to be maximum downforce on full display with these Lotus 79 machines. But you're right, Joe. After that, it's about putting the power down and then hard on the brakes through Miller. A little bit of a slower technical section really through turns 3, 4, 5 here. And then it opens back up. And don't be scared because there are some crests and some undulations in this. Look downhill towards MG. It's always a passing opportunity, but most importantly, you got to keep the nose tucked in around Swan and out onto the front straightaway. I think there's going to be some interesting passing moves today with these cars.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tricky, but Gardner Straight is long. I think it will open up opportunities. Now, as for the championship, Costa actually is still leading by only 5 points over Timothy Reed. Now, I believe he has at least one more drop week after these 2, so he's still sitting pretty, but like I said, he can't really afford to have too many more issues. Kimmo Viekainen did miss out last week as well, so he's down in 3rd, will also be a little bit under the gun. Gernot Friesche missed out, but has been very consistent when he does show up. He just needs a little bit more speed and is still looking for that missing win that he hasn't had for a couple years now. So that is a big storyline for him. Let's take a look in the meantime down at the F2 standings.
Right now, it is Barry West that is in charge right now, 24 points ahead of Keith Herner. Kind of a big gap here between the front 3, but it really tightens up. 3rd through about 9th place here. That includes Thomas Silbernagel, Pablo Suarez, Miguel Moreland, Robert Simpkins, Kurt Clapper. They're all only separated by about 12 points. So I feel like this F2 championship is really coming into its own right now, and especially with only a handful of races left, I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Now, as for the race itself, we're looking at 28 laps around here. It is open setup. I'm curious which way drivers are going to go because having a fast car down Gardner Straight will probably help, but the rest of the course, you definitely want some downforce in some of these fast corners. Now, no spare car to help them, even though there is quite a bit of width of runoff at this track. There's some places where you can accrue some damage quite easily, so watch out for it. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, DQ at 25. Don't anticipating those to be too much of a problem, but you never know. We'll see. In the meantime, they are in their qualifying, and Juan Costa has the provisional pole, but we're waiting on a number of drivers to put one down out here. And this is top split, by the way. So drivers are definitely going to have to make sure to be on their game because it is a very stacked field in terms of quality.
The best of the best here in the series right now, and that includes this driver right here. Joe, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the best of the best all time here in the Lotus 79.
Yeah, this is looking incredibly steep there. Timothy Reed, who's got the number 4 on his car, that means he's got the 4th highest I rating, is still over 5,000 I rating right now. We're on board with Gernot Frische, who's the number 2. For a long time, he was the number 1, but Juan Costa has jumped him, and he is still yet to put his first lap in.
Yeah, and Gernot is, in terms of the history out there, he has collected more wins and podiums than I think he cares to count at this point. And I know that he is on one of his fast laps right now. He hasn't put down a lap yet. I know there's about 3.5 minutes left here in qualifying. There's still plenty of time given these cars are doing about a 1 minute, 16-second lap.
Indeed. So Millward puts himself up to third. Costa's first 2 laps still good for provisional pole. Timothy Reed to his outside. Frisch's not known for taking many poles these days, but you never know as he comes around on the last few corners here. This is up and over Lukey Heights down M to MG. Let's see if this is going to be fast enough to at least put him within the top 5. As he comes around into Swan, it's going to be flat out from here on out to the finish line. He's the last of only 3 that have not set a lap here. Timing line a bit late, so as he crosses, first one is going to be a 17 flat. Indeed, I said top 5. That's exactly where he put it, 5th place.
Yeah, a good first lap here from Gernot Frische. You mentioned, he may not be a rocket ship in qualifying, but he is plenty fast in order to put it where he needs to on the grid right now. And I think his second lap might even be a little bit faster than his first. The other car that I've been looking out for did not have a very good first lap is the number 9 of Jack David Spickett, or JDS as we call him here. He's usually a little bit more towards the front. He's all the way in the back.
Yeah, not sure what caught him out there. Must have had a spin or something. But the number 9 does have the second lap as he comes down into MG. And let's see as he exit that final corner. Not sure if they're completely flat out through here. We're still watching Gernot Frische, though, on his second flyer coming down into MG as well. One of the slowest corners, very tricky in that downhill braking. And then out of the final 2, Spickett crosses the line. 17-3, much better for him. Still only 7th, but at least he's put something in representative.
Let's see if Gernot beats that 17.0 that he just put down. No, not quite faster than his first lap of 117.1 logged in that second time by.
And I think that might be among the last of them. I do think Nathan Finnegan on his second lap, and he's going to have enough time here to wrap it up. We're on board with him now, and he definitely needs it. He's only 17th on the grid. Only Jason Clapper behind him who hasn't set a time, and that will stay that way if you've never followed this series. Clapper just doesn't qualify. 18.7, only a 10th faster is not going to do it. Finnegan will indeed stay in that 17th spot. So let's go through our starting order with Juan Costa having put it on the pole. Timothy Reed will start from second position, as Alex Millward, who had a bit of a rough one down in the Camel Series, will start from third here today. Phil Reed, the controller king, fourth on his start, will have Gernot Friesche behind him in fifth, and then Juho Reina to his outside there in sixth position. Jack David Spickett, as we followed, finished seventh, as John Stevens will flank him in eighth. Then it's Dylan Freckleton, starting a little bit down, but he tends to be good in the race, from ninth, as Pepe Fuentes will start 10th.
In 11th place, we have Seamus Power. Arturas Kundelis next to him in 12th. Miguel Moreland and Tim Britton round out row 7. We have Sam Ryman here in 15th, Barry West 16th, and the last two cars, Nathan Finnegan and Jason Clapper on row 9.
All right, 18 cars here today. Not as many as we typically see. Phillip Island doesn't often get the bigger grids, but it should still be tight up there. We saw how hard it is to try and find inroads up the field in the qualifying order. But what does race pace hold? Is it 71 Fahrenheit on the track surface, 22 Celsius? But as is typical out here, it's literally right on the seaside here, Joey. So it is always windy at this track.
You can even see it here in this shot. Check out the trees. They are blowing around out there. And with how much downforce these cars make and how much they rely on, trust me, the drivers will feel it out there.
And talk about it being a close race. This is the track that actually holds the closest finish at 300ths of a second. Kimmo Viekainen over Timothy Reed had that one last season. So the standard has been set. We'll see if we can match that, as we're just waiting on Tim Britton and Nathan Finnegan here to see whether or not that will swap around at some point between these drivers towards the end of the race. Now we're just waiting on Nathan Finnegan down of our last qualifiers, as Jason Clapper's already put himself out there. All drivers on the grid. The engines now start to rev as we meet the second half of the season. Lights are up, and the green flag is out. Juan Costa gets a pretty good start over Timothy Reed, but it's a poor start from Phil Reed as he tries to get the car going. Juho Reina has no place to go, as in the background you can see a little bit of smoke and some cars stuck on the grid. Not sure if we had some incidents back there. Somebody now off the track, two wheels through Doohan, and then into the southern loop. Looks like we're going to at least get everybody else rolling.
Yeah, I think it was Phil Reed that dipped a couple wheels out into the gravel, but manages to keep it onto the racing surface. I see Arturas Kundelis also making it too wide a little bit further back. I can report that it was Jack David Spickett. He must have stalled or had a hardware problem. Never got off of the grid.
That is a real shame to see. Unfortunately, that can often cause some big wrecks if cars just don't go at the start line. Meanwhile, Costa over Reed over Millward is your top three. Have not changed positions still since the start, but Friesche is up one and into fourth as they crest over Loopy Heights.
He's going to do nothing but look forward, I guarantee you that. But I think the one thing that lap one here, you got to stay in touch with Juan Costa. We're used to seeing him run away from the rest of the field. Timothy Reed doing an excellent job.
Down the Gardner Straight now for the first time at speed, and it's a good run from Timothy Reed. He is pulling him in. This is a good example right here as they come up to Doohan for the second time. He doesn't quite get enough of a run. That pulled them far away from Millward, though. I wonder if Millward has a lot more downforce on it.
That is going to be kind of the question that we're going to see here. What are the downforce levels? What are the different setups between these cars? And I'm incredibly impressed with Timothy Reed right now. His early speed, look at him taking a look down the inside of Juan Costa. I am very impressed with this red second place car.
Our stats man, Michael DeTurk, who's usually an extra set of eyes back there, made the amusing suggestion that we need driver emote for car stalled, waving arms overhead frantically. Interestingly, there was a forum thread posted by, I think it was Greg Hill recently, that said they might, hinted that they might bring in some sort of emotes of some sort. I'm not sure what exactly his verbiage was, but it kind of hinted towards maybe being able to do something towards your hands, which I think would be very cool if we could, but we'll see if that is maybe one of the things that you could try to do here in these open wheelers as we once again return to the Gardner Straight, and Reed definitely much farther away from Costa.
Yeah, he lost something in the last half of this lap, or Juan Mi Costa said, all right, it's time to go ahead and check on out of here. The other thing to notice about these cars is look at the little itty-bitty front tires we have on these Lotus 79 cars. Sometimes it takes a lap or two to get those things up to temperature. Maybe Juan Mi Costa's car is finally up and running.
Yeah, that's a good point. These cars are known for having a little bit of both a warm-up period as well as changing their handling over the course of the race. So watch out for that. See who's good early and who is good late. Still very much line astern for much of the top of the field. We only get a big gap once you hit 7th place. Dylan Freckleton back down to 8th.
And I believe Arturas Kundalis is still working his way forward. This guy started all the way back in 12th position, up 4. He just got around John Stevens for 8th place.
Arturas known for racing over in the Camel GT Series. Big dive down the inside. Stevens thought about it, but thankfully did not make contact. I thought we were going to have a wreck there.
It was incredibly close into one of the only downhill sections on the racetrack. It can be a little bit deceiving going down the hill. Sometimes your braking zone's a little extended.
Kundalis usually races the Audi GTO, which is a much lower downforce car over in the Camel Series. This is only his 3rd race here in the Sunday Grand Prix Series. So looks like he's doing quite well. Like you said, up 4 as we come over to Millward once again. Gernot Frische has been staying in those mirrors and remaining a threat.
Sometimes that's all you can do is wait for the car to come to you. Sometimes it's waiting for the competitor in front of you to slip up a little bit, and then you can draw that ever little bit closer. And it seems like Gernot maybe tucking the nose a little bit more, searching for the clean air.
We're hearing some behind the scenes on Jack David Spickett. He says he forgot to shift into first before revving. So I've done that as well myself, unfortunately. He described it as a rookie error, and unfortunately a few others paid the price for that one. But it happens to the best of us sometimes.
And trust me, it does. And standing starts can be chaotic at best, and that's what they're meant to do, is they're meant to put all of that stress on the driver, and sometimes they crack.
You've raced mostly in North America, from what I understand, Joey. I mean, have you ever had to do standing starts?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I used to race back in the Speed World Challenge days with the standing starts and the mixed class stuff. Now, you want to talk about chaos? Talk about some GT cars stalled up in front of you. That's a little sketch.
That sounds like a bit of a wild ride. Speaking of a wild ride, Millward slipping up, coming through the southern loop, but he keeps it on the black stuff. Gernot Frische, though, is now trying to go side by side, but he's going to be on the wrong end of it, coming into Miller. Can he brake deep enough? Not quite. Still holding his own as a lockup of the brakes from Millward. They remain wheel to wheel. Now it switches back in favor of Frische up through Siberia, but neither is willing to give way. Still, he eventually finds the grip and is ahead.
And we'll see if he's able to pop out. I know this is kind of like a little miniature curving straightaway here, but looks like Gernot finally has that position, claims the 3rd place over Alex Millward. It was just really a slip up from that yellow number 8 car, and Gernot Frische took advantage.
For Millward, that was a good opportunity for his first podium in more than half a year. Frische's had a few, though, recently. But he hasn't had a win in a long time. He's got a long ways to go to get up to Costa. It's about 3 seconds already, the gap up to the leader, and we're only on lap 5 as they cross the line once again. Watch out for the controller king. Millward now has to keep his eyes on the mirrors once again.
And the other thing he's got to deal with now is the dirty air. He had the clean air with a little bit of gap between himself and Reed in front of him, but now with Gernot, he's got to deal with all of that dirty air, plus Phil Reed, a different Reed, putting pressure on behind. Exactly.
And Phil sizing him up is staying close enough, but not seeing an attempt down here in the Miller this time. They've also got Juho Reina back there behind them, exactly where he started, in 6th position. The Ferrari liveried Frische running away. There we now see Juho Reina, one of our many Finns that are successful in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. But for now, they stay line astern as they climb to the highest point on the track at Lukey Heights.
The fins are all over the place in these series, and they're always so fast. It seems like you can just kind of pick a name out of a hat, and they're going to be in contention for the race win with these cars. They just kind of seem to go in hand.
And honestly, I feel like you could say that for all of the vintage series. The Camel series, the Lotus 49s seems to draw them. I think the 49s maybe has the fewest of the fins, but they've become a bit more of a factor over the last few years there. As this is a good run from Millward down the Gardner straight, but runs out of straightaway as Friescher will retain P3 once they go through Dewan.
This is the area that Millward had the mistake. That last lap stays nice and tidy. He is now the one searching for that clean air behind Gernot Friescher. I'm curious, when you lose the position, what's the mindset of the driver? Do they continue to fall, or do they get back up on the horse and start attacking where they just were?
I'm pretty sure Alex is the type that is just stay on the attack all the way through. He is a fierce fighter and will not give up if I know him. But coming off of Siberia, doesn't get the grip that Gernot does, who pulls himself a little bit of breathing space over that bright yellow number 8 machine. Not many passes that happen here into Lukey Heights, but on a rare occasion, you could see it into MG. Don't think we're going to see it here, as he's just too many car lengths behind.
But all of the cars pretty tidy, one after another, all hitting their marks. Oh, actually, a little bit of a slip up there from Alex Millward, trying to put the power down coming out of the corner. I don't think Phil Reed is quite close enough here, but maybe struggling a little bit more with the rear tires.
That's a really crucial place to lose grip. Millward's going to be under threat, but you're right. Phil Reed couldn't get there in time, so he's going to have to sit behind. Maybe a good exit out of the southern loop could offer him something.
It's all about the grip here, and it looks like he's got it all under control again, but remember, it was a little bit of a slip-up that allowed Gernot by, and now we saw a little bit of a slip-up coming out onto the front straightaway. He might just be overheating those rear tires a little early.
Yeah, got to wonder if maybe he's spun him up too much in some of these slower corners early on. This is not a car that's known for liking slow turns. It is much more at home in medium and high speed corners, which this course has plenty, but you certainly have to keep your wits about you for corners such as Miller and MG.
And you nailed the right on the head there, Joe, because if you overheat them in the slow stuff, they're not going to be there when you need it, when you have all that downforce in the medium and high-speed stuff. So it really is that balancing act of taking care of your tires.
Again, I could see the rear just getting a little bit out of sorts there, coming out of the penultimate turn. I don't think it was quite as bad, so I think he'll at least be able to hold on to the spot here. But it definitely seems like that 8 car doesn't have a happy car in the early stages.
And don't get me wrong, loose is fast when the car is loose. But oh, look at the run that Phil Reed really gets through doing there in turn 1. Now he's really starting to apply the pressure. But what I was saying, loose is fast. It means the car is turning. However, it does tend to put a little bit too much heat into those tires. It's up to the driver. Can you manage that temperature? And if you can, it's a wonderful combination.
Still not able to make the move down into there, although if I was Millward, I would be a bit worried about Reed, because he's getting pretty close in some of these hard braking zones where he could try and make an attack. If they do that, though, you can see behind them at times that Juho in the number 12 has just been kind of hovering. He's remaining a factor.
I think that if Reed doesn't pass Millward cleanly, if they go too wide through even one corner, let's say a second corner, Juha Reina is going to be licking his chops right there waiting to take open that door, I should say.
Yeah, and everybody's probably at the absolute limit. I haven't touted this one in a while, but this series, for some reason, has become a bit of a breeding ground for black stripe drivers, especially on the open wheel side. We've seen a couple of them come through and dominate here. When I say dominate, they still have to fight hard for the wins, but that tells you the level at which everybody tends to be driving in this series. So maybe that explains why we haven't seen Phil actually try a pass, even though he's been so close for a number of corners.
You mentioned it was top split. This is the best of the best currently in the Lotus 79s. And these drivers that we are currently watching, I'm seeing Phil Reed iRating 6,000 plus, Gernot Friescher 6,600 plus. I mean, these are some incredibly talented drivers.
This is when it gets very serious when you hit those numbers. Those are the drivers that, like I said, are looking at maybe thinking I could go pro and race in the top level, but unfortunately a mistake like that. Oh, and he collects another driver with him. I think that was Juho Reina that got into the side of Phil Reed. Unfortunately, it all fell apart with just a wheel dipping into the grass for a fraction of a second.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. Just got a little bit too familiar with the right side of the racetrack. It's going to be after this right-hander here. He's going to try to take advantage of the whole track. You see the tires get dirty, and Juho just doesn't have anywhere to go.
Wow, so that promotes Dylan Freckleton now up to 5th, a gain of 4, but Arturas Koundalis has on quite a charge, 6 positions up. That is only topped by Jason Clapper, who has gained 8 since the beginning, but Jason's almost become kind of the de facto hard charger in just about every series we see him race in.
He has, and I want to give, once again, a tip of the cap to Jason Clapper because he jumped on the brakes to avoid Jack David Spickett and Nathan Finnegan when JDS stalled on the grid, so he's almost had 2 standing starts.
Wow, I didn't catch that one. We'll have to see if maybe we could find a replay on that to get a better angle at some point. But we follow Koundalis in his traditional bright green machine. Here we go. Looks like we've got the start. So let's see how wild it was trying to take avoiding action. Yeah, he's right in the middle at the start, which makes it worse because everybody's getting speed by the time they get up to him. Just plows him into the air. Same thing with Moreland, I believe, in that yellow car as he gets hit from behind too.
And you see Jason back here? Jason was the one who stopped and finally avoided all of it. Like I said, just a very good heads up because when you're on the standing start like that, you know it's go time. It's not time to hit the brakes per se.
Let's watch him on board with him, see what he sees. Now, thankfully, he's not on the side where the car is stopped, but he's still, he moves over to it. Oof. Wow. Yeah, that is very fast reaction times. Incredible stuff. I think Jason deserves a lot of credit for that.
Well, you know, I guess when you have that much experience starting at the back of the grid, you're used to seeing things like that.
This is very true. Back to Millward, though. He's not giving up on Gernot Frische. He lost that spot earlier on when he made the mistake. I think he's kind of collected himself now, and he's on the hunt.
I agree with you. And this is what I was talking about. What is the mindset of the driver? And clearly Alex Millward is focused forward right now. He is frustrated. He lost that position to Gernot Frische. He says that I've got the speed. I had the qualifying position. Give me a podium back.
See that correction there, though, coming out of the penultimate turn? He's still sawing away at the wheel, and that has cost him some time here on Gernot. He's about 3/10 behind, so certainly not going to be close enough this time down the main straight and into the first corner. This is continuing to slip away from the leaders. They are now 4.5 seconds behind Juan Costa, who has not been challenged. I know we haven't shown him at all, but Timothy Reed has not been able to get any closer. He's been staying about 2.5 seconds behind.
A valiant effort from Timothy Reed for sure. But yeah, Juan Costa definitely on another level here. And ooh, look at this, a little 4-pack, even 5-pack. Juho Reina stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, he's probably got some damage on the front of that car, no doubt, and lost, I think, a position down the main straight. Big move down the inside by Seamus Power. Power can't get by, but he's going to at least hold the overlap as they switch back into Siberia. He's going to have to give up the Ghost.
And this is Jason Clapper as well involved in this battle for the top 10. So he's the one sitting right behind, looking at Seamus Power, trying to get around Juho Reina, waiting to pick up the pieces.
I've got to think that Juho is going to be a sitting duck on the main straight here. Let's see if Seamus Power, no, he's not going to wait for it. He chucks it in down at MG. That was impressive stuff, and he makes it stick.
I thought we were going to see a few unorthodox passes here with the downforce levels and the grip that comes out. And there goes Juho Reina down into the pits. He says he's got damage. He's going to peel off of this battle, leave it alone. But yeah, that was an amazing move there from Seamus Power down the hill nonetheless.
Despite it being a hairpin, I can't stress enough how rare it is we see successful passes into there. So that was mighty from him coming a long way back. and Yuho did not even drive it into his pit stall. So I think, yeah, he's probably retiring the car.
Unfortunate, too, when it's, not your mistake. But, hey, you know what? Sometimes that's racing.
Well, the battle carries on. We still have John Stevens leading this group. Seamus Power now second in line with Clapper and Tim Britton. Tim is also up 4 himself. Has done a nice job. There we go down the inside of Seamus Power. Jason Clapper tries his hand through Siberia, but the high banking gives a good run to the outside of Power.
I wonder if he's going to pull a little bit of deja vu here on Seamus Power. Doesn't look like he's quite close enough to do the same move that we just saw happen. Jason Clapper is probably going to wait for the final corner through Swan, but actually has a little bit of a lockup. That goes to show you how tricky that downhill corner actually is.
Britton gets close to him, but I think he washes out a little bit as they try to accelerate. Now they fly through Swan. Yeah, they separate themselves, unfortunately. Who this does help is John Stevens. There you see in front of them, just scampered away on that lap, 1.7 seconds ahead of them now.
Yeah, nice little lap there from the number 17 machine. And sometimes that's what you need to do is you need to clear your head, clear yourself out of the racetrack of everybody else and just go do laps.
We might need to go back to Millward once again. He's gotten to the back of Freesia and is just hovering around that gearbox. You can see the gap at about 0.3 of a second. They'll climb the hill once more. We're now past the halfway point in the race, so it's all downhill from here, I suppose you could say. And speaking of which, downhill into MG. No attempt from Millward, at least this time, crew.
The thing that I've been noticing here about this pair is that they've kind of been seesawing this battle, this gap to Timothy Reed in second place. You see that car way off in the distance there. Well, that is second place. They're only about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds behind. So with another 12 laps to go, anything can still happen here.
Looks like Phil Reed also in pit lane and has joined there recently. Now I'm trying to see. I don't think he went in after his initial wreck. So yeah, he drove it in. I think he was in the same boat as Reina, just couldn't deal with the damage and has tried to come down to his pit stall. I don't know if he intends to return, though. Meanwhile, that is the closest we have seen into Miller, between Millward and Freesia, but still no look to the inside.
And Millward is doing an excellent job. I thought he definitely had an opportunity to at least poke the nose down the inside there. Thought better of it, and I continue to see him struggle with the rear tires, putting the power down, and I don't want to sound pessimistic here because, like I said, if you've got a driver that can handle that loose of a car, it can be a wonderful combination. It just, can you hang on to it the whole race?
Oh, I spoke too soon for John Stevens. He just had a spin and falls down to 12th. He was having such a great race, and that was self-inflicted. This is through Siberia. Let's have a look at it.
Looks like maybe just a little bit of entry speed from that shot here. This is one of the more technical turns here, Joe.
It's uphill. Like I said, it's got a fair bit of camber to it. And that curb on the inside is quite high. Did he? Oh, I thought he high-centered himself for a little bit.
Oh, and that was very close with the rejoin with that number 7 car. I believe that was Pepe Fuentes going by here. But Joe, this is the slower section of the racetrack. You mentioned they don't make the downforce at those slow speeds, and the car just isn't happy when it's going slow.
Certainly not. So he's now down to 12th, and we've had a lot of attrition here, by the way. We are down to, it looks like 13 cars running. We lost 5 out of 18. And again, top split, the talent is here. This is just proving to be a very difficult combination.
It's a difficult track to pass on, and I think what we're also seeing is the frustration level is that when you don't have the fastest car to go out there and fight, it's just the frustration is there, and they end up pulling it into the pits because they know they can't go forward anymore.
By the way, Clapper just got another one. He's now up 11 positions as he overtook Seamus Power at another bit of an unusual spot. Let's take a look at the replay. This is out of Siberia, up through Hayshed.
Seamus has a little bit of a slip up at all here.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe he had to lift up out of the gas just because he drove off the track a little.
Clipped some dirt, didn't want to spin the car, lost the speed, and there he goes through. So good heads up there from Jason Clapper, picks off another spot. Again, Jason, I don't know if you watch these broadcasts. We've been telling you in the Camel Series and the Lotus 49s, we want to talk to you. So come for an interview at some point. We want to find out the reasoning for starting from the back, because clearly you're fast enough. I think you could get some pretty good results here if you actually qualified. So he's going to lead Seamus Power and Tim Britton through Miller, and he's up to 7th spot currently. Next on his list is Arturas Kundelis, but Arturas is 10 seconds up the road, so I'm not sure that he's going to get him. And speaking of that bright green car, something we haven't mentioned, another special note about Kundelis is another driver running on an altered rig because he is in a wheelchair, so he has hand controls.
It's amazing what we see here in the racing community and also in the sim racing community, and yeah, it's a pleasure to have people like Arturas Kundelis come out here and participate in racing, and it's certainly not slowing Arturas down at all. He's up 6 positions in the 6th place, and like you just mentioned, he's 11 and a half seconds in front of Jason Clapper, the next closest competitor behind him.
Pepe Fuentes seems to have had an issue once again up into Lukey Heights. I think John Stevens also had his bad luck continue and got involved in this. Let's see. Ooh. Outbreaks himself into the corner. The rear doesn't want to hold, and then watch this. Just couldn't avoid it.
And I want to tell you there's more dramas on the racetrack. I think this is it right here. Joe, we got problems with Jason Clapper after doing corner. I believe he goes off in turn 2, just overcooks it a little bit here.
Easy to do that into the southern loop. I hate this corner, if I'm honest. Well, he caught it, though.
What a save.
Yeah, I thought he was going to completely loop the car.
I agree with you. He had a massive oversteer moment, was able to lock it down, hold the correction here, and we're going to get an onboard. Then thankfully the gravel actually saves him a little bit more.
It just a little bit of a bobble. And you look at that counter steer, really trying to save it. And does he actually get it? Yeah, he does, but eventually runs out of track. Yeah, you could see.
He just used the cushion out there. You know about that.
Exactly. Watched that last night over at Florence Speedway. But unfortunately, this is not a dirt car, so he has to return in 9th. He only lost 2 positions, though.
Yes, he'll get back on it. And honestly, with 9 laps to go, I see he's 4 seconds back from that battle that he was just involved in. So he could definitely still get back on it. And I see Arturas Kundelis actually just picked up another position, move him up to 5th. Juan Costa.
Costa loses the lead. Timothy Reed has it handed to him. We saw this last week at Le Mans with Costa, that he just hands it over when he had it in his hands. And unfortunately, he is not only going to lose the lead, he is down to 4th. Millward gets promoted onto the podium.
Joe, this was just such an odd place to have a mistake. This is just a weird moment, especially from Juan Costa. Look he's in the middle of the track here, coming up around to this bending left-hander. It just gets loose. Oh, and he just wrecked it again right now.
Highly unusual. Costa is usually flawless. 2 times in one race. This time he keeps it out of the wall. But the second time, did he actually get the wall the other time?
I don't think it was another gravel spin moment, but this, I believe, was turn 2 this next lap. But yeah, problems continuing for Juan Mi.
So we're going to stay here. Yeah, he's coming onto the main straight. He's still within sight of a potential podium because that's Millward and Freisha just in front of him. And then it's going to slip through his fingers once again. Wonder. So the last one was in Lukey Heights. Is this okay? This is
another left-hander, just like Jason Clapper.
Both of them with little crests in them and maybe a little bit off camber. Wonder if the car just doesn't like that combination.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we've seen Alex Millward be very, very loose, and I just think maybe with how long these corners are here, Joe, you got to have a lot of rear spring in the car. You got to have a lot of front grip, and maybe it's just twitchy.
Could be. He's still in fourth. He didn't lose the position with that second incident, but this makes it a battle for P2 between Freesia and Millward. Gernot, who is 2 seconds behind Timothy Reed, only has 7 laps to go. He could try and catch up to him. And I'm sure, I can see Michael DeTurk already typing in our chat. I wonder if he's looking up how long ago we are since the last win for Freesia.
Well, I'm curious about this podium, too. Reed, Freesia, Millward. I know that these are some familiar names, but Juan Costa is still in the mix. He's fourth. He's nowhere to be found in this podium call now.
Yeah, and like I said, been absolutely dominating both last season and this one. He just cruised home with his first championship last time out in Season 2. Here in Season 3, it looked like it was going to be that, but based on what we're seeing here today, he's going to have some challenges on his hand in the latter half of the season.
I'm still watching him out of the corner of my eye here because he's continuing to struggle on the racetrack. I mean, hopefully this lap for Juan Mi is back up to pace here. Yes, a 117, but he had several laps that he was just off the pace.
894 days since the last win for Gernot Freesia. More than 2 years, considering there's 4 seasons in a year. That is just eons for the last time the winningest driver in this series has won a race. And he's actually closing in. It's down to 1.6 seconds on Timothy Reed.
Uh-oh, Dylan Freckleton. Oh, no, this is a driver that was having a very, very good day. I believe he was knocking on the door, top 6 or so. And oh, another one, Seamus Power. This is all in turn 2.
Wow, this race is just coming apart. We're seeing a lot of drivers with lots of issues. It's not a hot track. It's still 73 Fahrenheit out there. Here goes Power down into doing another. Is this going to be another time into the southern loop?
I bet you it is. A little bit further around in this time, though.
But it's very similar, though.
Similar. It seemed like that mistake was more rolling onto the throttle rather than getting into the corner, though. Ooh, look at how long Dylan Freckleton slid for here, and he didn't find a wall.
Just about made his way to the actual beach there. So, unfortunately, he will get out of the gravel, but a long ways down there for him. He was having a good race before that moment as well. This is a stats-heavy day, honestly, because we're understanding that Timothy Reed has never gone back-to-back wins in this series. In fact, I'll have to check and see how many wins he has racked up, because he does have a few to his name. And then on top of that, if Alex Millward wins, it's also been a full year since he's had a victory.
I'm curious, Joe, if you were Alex Millward right now, what would your game plan be? You see 5 laps to go, really 4.5 laps left at this point. You see also Timothy Reed right up the road. Do you go battle Gernot Freesia, or do you say, hey, you know what, let's try to catch the leader?
He's had trouble trying to pass Gernot. So if it was me and I was Alex, I would try and hang out with Gernot and see if he can at least get me there and then try and battle. But I'm not Alex Millward, and if I know Alex, like I said, he likes to fight. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to try and give it a go if he gets a shot. He's not going to sit and ride the coattails.
Well, we got 4 laps to go. The sand in the hourglass slowly starting to tick out of it right now, and the opportunity. Oh, that was a big wiggle out of Alex Millward.
That was impressive, that catch there. That cost him a little bit. Tim, I am hearing, has 4 wins to his name up to today. Can he make it number 5? Interestingly, he was the one that finished 0.03 of a second behind Kimmo Viekainen last season. So this is going to be a little bit of redemption for him.
Watching how this kind of ebb and flow is going on right now, it seems like Gernot Freesia is faster in the middle portion of this racetrack. He really closes in the gap from here. Now, Timothy Reed, when he starts to get to these faster flowing corners, he seems to open it up just a little bit more. I'm curious, though, the closer Gernot gets, is he going to get to smell that draft at all?
Gonna get that exhaust in his face a little bit. It is 1.6 seconds with now 3 laps to go. Gernot Frische is there, but he needs half a second a lap. I think he's running out of time.
I agree with you. However, we've seen several mistakes out of a lot of different competitors. All it takes is one big wiggle.
Costa setting the fastest lap of the race, still in 4th and trying to come back as best he can, but I think he lost way too much time. Meanwhile, jumping back down into the midfield here, we've got Tim Britton just ahead of Seamus Power, and Barry West, a gain of 8 today. He has been a bit silent, but very effective.
Yeah, great run from Barry West right now, doing a terrific job crossing the line. 3 laps to go for them, and he's still kind of right in the thick of things. He's got Tim Britton right behind him, so trust me, he's got his mirrors full for 3 laps.
Barry West tends to show up in these top split races. He's not known for his speed, but he's known for his consistency. And as I said, started from the back of the field in this one, but he still has a 3K plus I rating, and he's having to go defensive because Tim Britton's trying it, but even Tim Britton is defending on Seamus Power.
And if you remember, some of these cars had some mistakes earlier on, and they're working their way back through the field. So this is kind of a mixing pot of speed between all these cars.
And how about Sam Ryman coming from the back of the field? He also races in the Lionheart Retro Series, which uses this car in a mix of oval and road. Just came away from Iowa this past week and has been trying to see what he can do here in the official series. He's been showing up for about the past season and a half here.
Barry West was a little bit deep in that downhill hairpin here. He's got Tim Britton all over the back and through Swan. If Tim can hold it on the road, he's going to have a terrific draft. Here we go.
This is it. This is going to be a great opportunity down the front stretch. He's around the outside. Can he defend coming through Doohan? He'll have the inside through this one, and he does. Charges back in front of him. That was a power move from West.
What a move from Barry. He was just so late on the brakes, was able to hold it through turn 1 and 2, which we've seen so many drivers lose control. But here comes Tim Britton. He's back on the attack. Barry West moves over into the defensive position.
They go wheel to wheel coming down through Millward. He's off. Britton is all the way into the grass, and he's going to lose the fight here. He'll be way too far behind to catch up on that one. White flag is out, though. 1.5 seconds. It was down to 1.2 briefly between Frische and Reed. But again, this might be too little too late.
And I think crucially, Millward has fallen off from Gernot, so Gernot can just focus forward right now. But like you said, it's a little bit too little too late. Timothy Reed has done a fantastic job in this race.
As they come up into Miller one more time, Frische still has distant hopes maybe of finally getting another win to add to his massive tally of victories. But he needs Timothy Reed to make a mistake from here. Millward from behind back there is still kind of hovering in the background as they come up over Lukey Heights. Timothy Reed going to take his first back-to-back win if he can just go through 3 more corners without making a mistake. That one was good through MG. Now through the penultimate turn. Should be flat out from here to the end, all the way to the finish line, as long as he's got enough fuel. This is a win for Timothy Reed, and he's got it. The number 4 is going to take his 5th ever win in the Sunday Grand Prix Series.
Terrific racing from Timothy Reed, claiming a rightful victory. It's going to be Gernot Frische and Alex Millward joining him on the podium.
Costa still gets a 4th, valuable points, but this allows Timothy Reed, I think, to take the points lead. We'll have to see once they score those up and we are able to see if the drop weeks are starting to be counted, and we'll keep him ahead. But excellent stuff there from the number 4, who is showing he's fast both in the Camel Series and here in the Lotus 79s, really on incredible form. As the last of the drivers cross, looks like Power might actually overtake West here right at the finish, but no, he doesn't. West retains 8th. Not our hardest charger as Clapper gets at 12th. Now we can head to a little bit of a break with the last of them finishing. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Phillip Island. We just watched round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and Timothy Reed gets the win, his second of the season and his first time ever back-to-back in this series. Gernot Frische followed him home 0.8 of a second off of a possible win. He was right there, but he still didn't quite do it. Millward, though, returns after nearly a year without showing up in this series and is right onto the podium. Excellent for him. As Juanmi Costa makes a mistake from the lead and gives it up when he had it easily in his hands earlier on. He does finish 4th, though. Arturas Koundalis gets himself up 7 positions to finish 5th, as Clapper does even better, gaining 12 to finish 6th. Then it's Dylan Freckleton, P7, and Barry West in 8th. Seamus Power was 9th, and Sam Ryman climbs for a top 10.
Here in 11th place position, we have Pepe Fuentes, and then Tim Burton in 12th, who was our last car on the lead lap. We have John Stevens finishing 1 lap down here, and then also Phil Reed a couple laps down. The rest are DNFs. Quite a high attrition rate here at Phillip Island today.
It was indeed, and we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Timothy Reed, getting his first ever back-to-back. But Tim, you were trying to stay within range, it looked like, of Juanmi, and I've heard some say that he tends to kind of buckle under pressure if someone stays close in the non-broadcast races. Were you aware of that? Were you trying to do that in the race to see if you could get him to crack?
The only times I've been able to stay close to Juanmi is like the first lap, so I really don't know if that's true or not. But he did slip a little bit on the first lap. I did kind of put my nose in there, but I knew I didn't have the pace for it. But yeah, I was able to kind of keep up with him for a couple laps. Made one little mistake, lost a couple tenths, then lost the draft. And yeah, it was pretty much just watch him. He didn't run away this time, at least, but he did walk away from me. But yeah, so it was still a good race by Juanmi, other than his mistakes. He had good pace, but I got really lucky.
Now, I'll have to watch and see if they'll be taking drop points into account, but I think this might actually put you up into the points lead here even, which is wild because I'm not sure if we've ever had someone leading both Camel GT and Lotus 79 championships at the same time.
I'm sure it'll be short-lived. I've been, well, I guess it wasn't a DNF from Juanmi this race, but last race it was a DNF, so that definitely affected that things. And then I got some scheduled missed weeks coming up, so I doubt I'm gonna hold on to it. If I'm the championship leader for this week, then yeah, that's gonna be short-lived, I think.
Well, even still, I mean, that's an impressive feat. Next time out, I mean, you do have Aragon, which is going to be the first time for this series going there. Do you anticipate kind of the fresh, clean slate putting you on equal footing will give you a better shot at Juanmi?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I guess it's a home track for him, so I don't know if he spent more time on it than I have, but yeah, I like that track. I had a really good time with it in Camel. It should be fun in this car, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on your first back-to-back wins, and hopefully we'll see you next time out in Spain.
All right, thanks.
That was Timothy Reed, your winner here today. And up next, I believe Joey has caught up with Gernot Frische.
Gernot Frische coming home second place. You were so close to the win, but got to be happy with second.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm definitely happy with second place. I think that was about maximum for me today. Actually, I'm surprised to have been that competitive or that lucky, whatever you would like to call it.
Well, it seemed like you had an incredible amount of pressure, really, the last half of the race when you got by Alex Millward. He just made that simple little mistake. Were you worried about him getting back by you at all, or were you confident in your speed?
We had a really tough battle in the race before the big one, so I knew he was fast and he beat me in the race before. So of course I always had one eye in the mirror and the other one, looking ahead, maybe putting some pressure on him, but unfortunately he didn't do any mistakes. So second place is still really good here.
I was curious about that because we noticed your pace and Timothy Reed's pace was almost identical throughout the entire race. And then about the last 10 laps, you started to draw it in. Was that you picking it up, or maybe did you feel like Timothy was kind of falling off a little bit and you had a shot at the win?
To be honest, I don't really know what it is. I usually get a little bit quicker towards the end of the races, unless I start making mistakes. So this was really on the edge because I had to push a lot. So, but it seems like I really kept it together. So yeah, the car was good in the end, and maybe Tim was facing a bit more problems with his setup. I don't know.
And since you are, the most experienced driver in here, I want to ask you, you guys are going to a brand new track next week, Aragon. Any thoughts on what the racing is going to be like?
Well, actually, I have not really an idea about the track. I know it's used for MotoGP racing, but I don't really know much about the layout, so it will be, start from zero for me.
Well, good luck next week. You're going to have a monster back straightaway. I know that much. Second place today for Gernot Frische.
Thanks, guys. Congrats to Tim and Alex. Bye-bye.
Looks like we got one more ready to talk to us, Sam Ryman, who kind of worked his way up through the field. Definitely used the attrition that we saw today a bit to his advantage. Sam, we saw you go from Iowa to here. What's it like trying to switch from ovals in this car to back onto the road courses?
Oh, hi, Drew. Yeah, I knew you were broadcasting the race at Iowa the other day, and that was a very disappointing performance. So I'm glad this one was a bit more positive. I hope you saw some of the fun I had out there. A little bit of grass tracking right at the very start there, and then a few incidents ahead of me. Granted, I was running last of the competitive cars pretty much all race long, but I commend myself on being able to hold the slipstream of the other cars so that when drama did happen, I was kind of right there ready to capitalise. So I'm definitely happy with this one. It's as far as ovals versus road goes, I've been doing so much time behind the wheel of this car anyway. My car's called Wednesday, by the way, that's her name. Long story behind that. But Wednesday, I've gotten used to driving her. I've also been driving in AI as well. So yes, I mean, it's a really fun car. I think everyone normally tells you that. Oh, yeah, Joe's just posted a meme of the Wednesday Netflix series. Yeah, it's Halloween colours, right? The black and the orange. So I was kind of like, well, I always give my cars female names, and I wanted it to be inspired by something Halloween-y, and it was the first female Halloween-y thing I could come up with. I haven't actually watched that series, so I haven't watched Wednesday, but the car's named after her.
Yeah, I think the gift that I posted is from the movies, I want to say, but I need to see the series as well, and I approve of the name. I think it worked well today. Kind of a quiet run, much like Wednesday. Not a lot to say, but effective in the end.
Yeah, no, like I say, I had the front row seat for some of the battles. I had time in the scoring up. It looked like there was a good three-way battle going on for the lead all race long, so I don't know how much we were paying attention to us back markers, but there was like a four-car scrap going on between Tim Britt and Barry West, myself and Pepe there in like the closing half a dozen laps or so. And when I say battle between us four, the battle was between them three, and I was kind of there chickening out, taking the popcorn seat, waiting for something to happen. And one of them ran off, so you got a tenth from that. But yeah, no, where do we go next week? I think Aragon. I don't even have that car yet. I don't even have that track yet. So that will be less promising race for me probably.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you regardless, and congratulations, you cracked the top 10 today.
Yeah, I don't think it's the first time this season, but I still rate my finishes based on how many iRacing official points I get, because, you know, that's weighted based on the strength of field, and I got 107 points that way in this race, and I think that is my best point score of the season in this car, if you count it that way. I have been keeping half an eye on the Classic Team Championships F2 Championship, that I'm doing well in. Barry West just went over 3,000 iRatings, so maybe that puts him back in the F1 Championship, and then I actually have a chance of racing for this F2 title. Who knows?
All right. Well, best of luck regardless, Sam, and thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you again. Have a good day.
Sam Ryman finishing 10th today, which is going to wrap up our interviews with a big thank you to the 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thanks to the team today, Joey, Bobbert, Dougie, and Michael DeTurk, who was a huge help behind the scenes today. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Like we said, brand new track next time at Aragon, Sunday, October 6th. I'm getting ahead of myself. August 6th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.